nice. Oh shit. Okay. Crap. Alright, well, I'll just do that later.
That should be everyone. Welcome. Come at me.
No, I think I'll pass. Come at me. Oh, dude. Homo much?
Can you hear me? It's Trunks. I've set a super time machine. As
You
well
gotta
as
be
a crate of
kidding me.
supplies. Here's how to launch. Find the power keys, then
Someone
place them in the
save
right
me.
spots.
Once I revert to an egg, I must bury myself underground for 3 years. There, my form matures.
Well, he's fucking
Thanks.
level, well, he's A
Once I
tier,
revert
so
to an egg, I must bury
Maybe.
myself underground for
maybe it won't
3
be that bad
years.
with
There,
fucking
my form
5
matures.
people.
Once I revert to an egg, I must bury myself underground for 3 years. There, my form matures.
You be careful too, okay?
You found a power key. Go slot it.
I'm so pleased that this day has finally come. Soon I will be complete.
Hey, great! You found another power key. Use it quick.
That won't work for you.
Gee!
Okay. Ooh, nice!
This can't be. This can't be happening.
Calabasa going off, man. We've done some damage to him, at least. You know what? I'm just gonna throw this.
No complaints for me. Come out. Get out here right now. Damn it, they got away.
Okay. 2 keys more.
No. You'll pay for this. You will pay for this!
Great. You know what to do with that key.
Now we just gotta find the fucking key
Get
here.
out here right now! Damn it.
Dude, we have the Dragon Balls. Please don't fucking die now.
Hey, great. You found another power key. Use it quick.
Where the hell? Unfortunately, I don't have time, controller.
Somebody's down. Exercise extreme caution if you're going to help them. Ally down. If you intend to rescue them, watch out for enemies. You've got all 7 Dragon
no.
Balls. Summon Shenron at the altar. An ally needs your help. We don't know when danger awaits. Think before rushing in.
Do you want me to show you?
The startup system for the Super Time Machine is ready. Head there now.
That should be everyone. Welcome. And now for an arena for the tournament. This area should do just...
I'll send some supplies to help. Make good use of them.
Show me what you can really do, or you're going to regret it. Come at me.
Come forth, Shenron!
You let me summon.
Now,
Alright.
consider it done. Now, just one last question. Would you care to take part in a little warm-up? Come at me. Well, that does far more damage than I thought it would. Please forgive me. I think I might be enjoying this a bit too much. enough for the turret. This area should do just fine. That should be everyone. Welcome. You're done! Please forgive me. I think I might be enjoying this a bit too much.
Well, that explains why his fucking rank is so low.
What? Impossible.
Oh, nice. Okay, 8 minutes. That's great. Lovely.
April 3rd, 2019. A bruised and battered teenage boy is seen sprinting across the Ohio River Bridge, clearly distraught and looking for help. He desperately runs into the roads and up to cars, asking people to roll their windows down and directly putting himself in danger. Local residents approach him, unwilling to fully engage with the boy, as they feel as if he could be on drugs or pose a threat to them. He is manic and appears in distress. When they do talk to the boy, he tells them that he is Timothy Pitson, the boy who was kidnapped over 7 years ago, and he just escaped his kidnappers. The police quickly respond to the call and arrive to find that the boy is still wandering the streets. He repeated that his name is Timothy Pitson. He was kidnapped about 8 years ago, and that he is 14 years old. To them, he appeared to be much older and doesn't match the photo of the child that they pull up. The boy claims he escaped from 2 kidnappers in the Cincinnati area and then fled across a bridge into Kentucky. According to the official police report, he told police he fled from a Red Roof Inn just across the bridge and that his captors have held him for the past 7 years. According to the police report, Timothy described the 2 kidnappers as 2 male whites, bodybuilder type build. One had black curly hair, a Mountain Dew shirt and jeans, and has a spiderweb tattoo on his neck. The other was short in stature and had a snake tattoo on his arm. The kidnapper's vehicle, according to the report, was described by Timothy to officers as a newer model Ford SUV with unknown Wisconsin plates in a second row. The Ford is white with yellow transfer paint and a dent on the left back bumper, the report states. Immediately, the police investigated these claims and put a bolo out for the vehicle, but nothing was found. They checked with the Red Roof Inn and shockingly found no evidence of the boy claiming to be Timothy ever being there, either on their security cameras or records. Moreover, no vehicle matching the description they were given was found on security cameras. Something was very wrong, but it wouldn't be until much later that the truth was revealed. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading. Or if this is your first time here, then welcome. Today we are going to be covering the case of Timothy Pitson and his mother, Amy Fry Pitson. I've been waiting to cover this case since I started the channel, as it is one of the most harrowing and I still hold out hope that one day Timothy will be found. This case has the tendency to stick with people, because it feels impossible that we do not have answers over 10 years later. But alas, here we are. This video was also suggested by my subscribers and a great deal of my patrons over on Patreon, my paid membership site that allows me to produce content full-time. And thanks to my patrons, I was able to handle the medical emergency that occurred last month. I have decided to quit my job to do this full-time, and for that, I want to say thank you. YouTube often demonetizes this content, but either way, I'll always make content regardless of whether or not I'm being paid, so I appreciate the support from those watchers. With all of that said, let us begin. Timothy Pitson was born October 18, 2004, to his parents James Pitson and Amy Fry Pitson, who viewed him as a miracle. James and Amy had met at a small party thrown by their mutual friends, and at once they fell for each other. Amy had just come out of her third failed marriage and had been going through a long depression, and James had recently survived his fight with cancer. When they met, they felt like they had been placed in the right place at the right time, and their lives were destined to be entwined. Amy had been dealing with mental health issues her entire life, often going from emotional highs, where she felt on top of the world and unstoppable, to steep, depressing lows, where she would feel as if her life was no longer worth living, and that the world would be better off without her. In these lows, she would lash out at those around her, leading to moments of intense anger and distancing. In the cases of her previous marriages, she had cited her depression and emotional instability as being what caused their ends. She would lash out or act impulsively in a bid to feel something other than the negativity she was feeling, and it would result in her partners being hurt and leaving her. When the two met, James seemed to believe that he could simply love the depression out of Amy. Amy had previously tried to take her own life, once before she met James, and a second time shortly after they began seeing each other, which James felt he could have prevented. He felt that by being there for her and making her the number one priority in his life, he could make her see how truly wonderful and amazing she was. For the first year of their relationship, the couple did long distance, only seeing each other when their schedules would allow for it. But James put in the time and effort, always telling Amy just how wonderful she was in his eyes and how much he truly cared for her. Unfortunately, as many of us are likely aware, depression doesn't simply just go away because you are well loved or treated well by the people around you. It has very little to do with who you spend time with and how they treat you, and much more to do with how your brain is wired to work. Though James most assuredly came from a place of love and good intentions, the idea that simply loving Amy would solve her mental health issues was incorrect, and this well-intentioned belief would later lead to a number of fights and misunderstandings. After they had been dating for a significant amount of time, Amy shocked James with the news that she was pregnant. The pair had not been trying for a child, but they also had not been practicing safe sex, or really using any form of birth control. James had been told by his doctors previously that he would be unable to father a child, given his cancer treatment's negative effects on his body, and so the pair felt comfortable not taking any precautions. But despite both being shocked by the discovery, they were ecstatic. Both excitedly told their families and got married, looking forward to the future they would have together, and Amy decided on the name Timothy, with 2 M's, and told her sister that her little boy was going to be special, hence the special spelling. He was going to be amazing, she told her, and everyone would know who he was, and unfortunately, she was right. The moment Timothy was born, Amy was obsessed with him. Her life revolved around him, and she would spend all of her free time with her son, taking photos and videos of everything he did. When she wasn't with him, she was talking about him, telling everyone at work about how amazing he was and how fast he was learning. However, she was still dealing with mental health issues. Her highs mainly focused around her son, and being what she believed was a good mother, but her lows were now larger, with her at times lashing out at her husband and believing that he no longer loved her. The pair began to fight more and more, with Amy lashing out in cruel, vindictive ways, and James meeting her energy and striking her back emotionally. Their marriage was beginning to show signs of stress in 2008, with them fighting frequently, but it was only when James found that Amy had reconnected with her ex-husband via Facebook that things would take a turn for the worse. According to James, he found that Amy had been messaging her ex-husband, a man that he believed mistreated her and therefore was responsible for her depression. Again, though Amy had dealt with depression her entire life, James erroneously believed that it was caused by a broken relationship, and therefore could be fixed with love. The messages started out innocent, but eventually Facebook that things would take a turn for the worse. According to James, he found that Amy had been messaging her ex-husband, a man that he believed mistreated her and therefore was responsible for her depression. Again, though Amy had dealt with depression her entire life, James erroneously believed that it was caused by a broken relationship, and therefore could be fixed with love. The messages started out innocent, but eventually the exes made plans to meet up with each other when James was out of town to have sex. When James found these messages, he was both heartbroken and angry. He spent years with Amy, consistently loving her and combating the damage that her ex had done to her self-esteem, only for her to cheat on him. He felt betrayed, and Amy tried to downplay the interaction and state that James was overreacting. As the fight continued on, James told Amy that she would have to make the choice, either her ex-husband or Timothy and him. James gave his wife an ultimatum, saying if she did not stop contacting her ex, he would file for divorce and full custody of Timothy. He told her that if they were going to get a divorce, he would take their son, and she would never see him again, as a way to hurt her so he could win the fight. At once, Amy broke down, and the pair made up. But afterwards, Amy became even more territorial, as she felt as if she couldn't trust James. The fight occurred in 2008.
Well,
and
that's
it seemed
ironic.
that after that, even in their good times, she still harbored a fair amount of mistrust for her spouse. She opened an email account under her maiden name and used it for purchases and conversations she didn't want her husband to see. She began taking small, unexplained, long-day trips to various parts of Wisconsin behind James's back, and as time wore on, she came up with a plan that would forever change the course of the entire family's lives.
Don't tell me this little boy got kidnapped all because this chick wanted some other
May 11th,
dick.
2011. The day began as any other had before it, with the entire family waking up and getting ready to go off to their respective jobs and school. The day before, Amy had dealt with an extreme case of vertigo and dizziness, so James told her that he would be driving the family to school and to work, just to make sure they would arrive safely. Oddly enough, this assertion seemed to annoy Amy, who asked James if he didn't trust her with their son, to which he told her he did. He just wanted to make sure she was okay after her previous medical issues the day before. Amy appeared annoyed at this, but didn't argue. After that, he dropped his son off at his kindergarten class at Greenman Elementary School, telling him he loved him as he went to class. He had no reason to believe that this would be the last time he would see his son. Instead of going to work, Amy drove to Timothy's school and checked him out of class, telling his teachers that there was a family emergency and he needed to come with her right away. In stark contrast, her demeanor towards Timothy was energetic and fun. Whatever was wrong, she wasn't telling her son, and they set out for what seemed to be a fun-filled day together. She took Timothy out for food and dropped her car off for repairs at a local repair shop. As they waited for the car to be repaired, an employee drove them to the Brookfield Zoo. Timothy was obsessed with animals. He had gone to the zoo many times with his family. He stated that it was one of his favorite places, and from security camera footage, it was clear that Amy was doting on her son, making sure he had everything he wanted. While the pair was at the zoo at 12 p.m. noon, James arrived back at the school to pick Timothy up. When he entered the classroom, the teacher was shocked to see him. She informed him that Timothy had been picked up earlier in the day, shortly after he had been dropped off. James didn't believe her and asked to see who had signed him out, and was annoyed to find that it had been his wife. He felt, originally, she must have done this to get back at him for saying she shouldn't drive Timothy to school, but felt that his son was safe, as long as he was with his mother. Though their marriage was disintegrating, he didn't believe that she would do anything to hurt him or his son, and that, if anything, she would come home in a couple of hours and they could talk. He called Amy's cell phone multiple times and tried to get in contact with her to see what her end goal was, but she refused to answer. Again, this only served to annoy James, but he felt as long as his son was with his mother, they would be fine. He contacted relatives and told them about the situation, and urged them to get into contact with Amy, but she likewise ignored their calls as well. At first, many of the relatives placated James, telling him everything would be fine, and that the situation would right itself when Amy came home. But as the day wore on into night, and still no one had heard from Timothy or Amy, James contacted the police and filed a missing persons report for his wife and son. Unsurprisingly, the police weren't quick to act, given that they felt there was no reason to believe that Timothy was in any real danger. This inaction would have devastating consequences that we still feel today. At the same time that James was finding out his son had been taken out of class and was notifying their family, Amy and Timothy had returned to the car repair shop to pick up her vehicle. But instead of driving home or to a relative's house, Amy drove her son to Key Lime Cove Resort in Gurnee, Illinois. Key Lime Cove has since been rebranded as Great Wolf Lodge and is an indoor water park. The family had previously visited the resort together, and like the zoo, it was one of Timothy's favorite places. On security footage, the pair was caught having a great time, and once more, it seemed that Amy was giving her son everything he wanted and asked for when they were there. Timothy was obviously excited. He had spent the day doing some of his favorite things with his favorite person. The mother and son duo spent the night at the resort. All the while, James and the police set out trying to find them. The next day, Timothy and Amy checked out of the Key Lime Cove Resort and drove to the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, which is, once again, another indoor water park. They spent the day together, ignoring relatives' concerned calls, and seemed to be having a great time. The next day, May 13th, they checked out of the hotel at 10 a.m., as captured on security footage, and Timothy would never be seen again. However, he would be heard. After checking out of the resort between 12 noon and 1:30 p.m., Amy called several different family members, including her brother-in-law and her mother. She told everyone that she talked to that she and Timothy were fine, they were safe, and they were not in trouble. According to her mother, she said, quote, "We're fine, we'll be home in a day or two. I just need some time to figure out and try to think how to approach this," seemingly referring to the disintegration of her marriage with James. According to James's brother, when Amy called him, she said, "Timothy is fine, Timothy belongs to me. Timothy and I will be fine. Timothy is safe." The young boy could be heard in the background of these calls, repeatedly stating that he was hungry, which was something he did often. According to the people she talked to, she seemed fine, if not a bit agitated, and clarified that Timothy was her son and he was safe with her. Everyone who knew Amy knew she wouldn't have hurt Timothy, and simply hearing them both did wonders for their nerves. Even still, they continued to feel as if something were deeply wrong. The calls were traced by the police and found to have come from the northwest area of Sterling, Illinois, near Route 40, and they would indicate the last time Timothy would ever be heard from. 6 hours after those calls were made, Amy would be seen on security cameras once more, this time by herself. Timothy was no longer with her, and she seemed to be at ease and unbothered. She was seen going into a Family Dollar in Winnebago, Illinois, where she bought a pen, notepaper, and envelopes. She was then seen at a grocery store in the same area, and then, 4 hours later, checked in to the Rockford Inn in Rockford, Illinois. According to those who encountered her, she was calm and didn't appear to be in a state of stress. It was there that she killed herself by cutting her wrists and neck while overdosing on antihistamines, but not before writing 3 letters, one to her husband, one to a friend, and another to her mother. Using the pen and paper she had bought earlier in the day, Amy left a note that was found next to her body when she was discovered the following morning. The contents of this note have still not been made public. However, according to every source that has reported on this case thus far, the note went well into detail explaining what she did and why. According to James and the police officers who read the note, she apologized for the mess she had created, and went further to say that Timothy was safe with people who loved him and that would never be found. She said that she would never allow Timothy to be taken away from her, especially by James.
Wow. Fucking wow. She did all that because she didn't get to fuck some other guy's dick. Are you kidding me? Screws loose. Gotta get keys fast against this guy. You know what? The fact that there is a survivor only mode actually contributes to longer wait times. Because obviously the game can't be like, oh, you're playing survivor only. Well, too bad, now you gotta play Raider because everyone else is playing survivor only.
Let's do this!
Can you hear me? It's Trunks. I've set a super time machine, as well as a crate of supplies. Here's how to launch. Find the power keys, then place them in the right spots.
Please, save me! Please, save me!
Dude, what the fuck is going on?
You found a power key.
Someone-
Go slot it.
Wait, what? I can't open the box, but I can save the civilian. No, what the?
You're my savior!
Dude, I literally can't do anything.
Jane!
This is what happens when people have, you know, playing out of fucking McDonald's. You can't do anything. What? Easy anti-cheat? Like, that was the fucking problem, not, you know, his fucking connection to the servers. Everyone was having that fucking problem. So what, everyone had a fucking problem with anti-cheat? Yeah, right. What a load of bullshit. Like, seriously, I spend that much time waiting for a fucking game just to have it be a fucking slideshow?
And that she had left him in the care of people who would love and care for him. The letter, like the call she had made the day before, was overtly possessive of their son, aggressively claiming ownership of him and his life. It also implied that James would have hurt Timothy to get back at her, although there was no proof or indication that James had, at any point, abused Timothy. 2 days after the discovery of her body and
Bro,
the
she's
note,
literally
Amy's
lying.
mother
She was
received
planning
the
to
following
cheat on
letter
him.
going
Obviously,
into
she's gonna
further
lie
detail
about his
what
her
had
husband
happened and why she
as well.
felt compelled to kidnap and hide her own son. Parts of the letter were initially read out on Nancy Grace, then again on HLN's Real Life Nightmare, but the contents of the letter in full have not been transcribed or publicized that I was able to find. Mom, I know you were hurt and frustrated, and I wish I had something better to say than I love you, but I don't. I have never felt I belonged here. I have tried very hard to fit in, to be happy, to be good to those around me, but somehow I've always felt apart from everything. Tim helped me with that for a while, and maybe if Jim and I had been better, it would be okay, but everything just fell apart, and this time there are too many pieces to pick up again. I can't take the chance of Jim hurting Tim because of my choices, so I've taken him somewhere safe. He'll be well cared for, and he says that he loves you. Please know that there is nothing that you could have done or said that would have
Dude,
changed my
she'd rather leave the boy with strangers rather than fucking relatives.
mind. It was just time to say
She's
goodbye.
complete
I love you,
fucking
Mom.
nutcase.
Amy. After the discovery of Amy's body, the investigation into where Timothy was taken began in earnest. Though he had been reported missing the same day, and Amy had used a number of credit cards, making the pair easily traceable, the police hadn't prioritized the case until Amy's death, and would have to play catch-up. The hotel room where she was found was grisly, and they noted the manner of death didn't necessarily match her circumstances. She had cut her wrists and her neck after purposely overdosing on antihistamines, which felt to some like overkill. Professionals who have looked at this case have noted that she had previously attempted suicide twice before, and it appeared that she wanted to be successful in this attempt. While scouring the scene for any evidence pertaining to Timothy's well-being, the police noted that none of the items that Amy had been seen buying for Tim during their 3-day-long vacation were in her possession. She had purchased numerous gifts, toys, and shirts for the boy, but there weren't any in her car, nor were they in the hotel room where she was found. They also noted that Timothy's car seat was missing from the vehicle, leading credence to the idea that he had been given to someone else for safekeeping. It would later be found that the car seat was never in the car in the first place, and it had been left at Timothy's grandparents' home the week prior. Alarmingly, the investigators stumbled across a large amount of blood in the back seat of Amy's.
When it was, and she never fought. She never did. And next thing you know, she's dead. And I'm like, well, this is great. And I guess, I don't know, I got scared or nervous or I don't know. It was juicy. It didn't taste like blood, though. I mean, it tasted like a cardboard piece of steak.
You really wasn't sure why she was dead? Why didn't you call somebody to come up there and check on her?
Because something else was in control.
When detectives in Coffee County, Tennessee were called out to a remote property late one summer evening to respond to a peculiar claim, they had no idea what they would soon uncover would reveal a horrific and gruesome crime. In a chilling turn of events, detectives were left to puzzle out not only if someone had committed the crime, but if they'd resorted to cannibalism following a bizarre accident, or if in fact the stomach-turning
has
act
two
had been the
fucking
fulfillment of a
watermarks.
fantasy and an unhealthy obsession with serial killers. On the evening of June 8, 2014, Jason Walker was walking across the yard of his rural Tennessee home when he heard a voice call his name from somewhere in the yard. Jason turned, slightly impatient. It was 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, and he was eager to get on with his preparations for the upcoming week. Looking to the adjacent yard, he saw his 37-year-old neighbor, Gregory Scott Hale, standing at the fence and motioning for him to come closer. Jason sighs inwardly but approaches the short chain-link fence separating them anyway, having no idea that the conversation he was about to have would be one of the most horrifying of his life. "Where's your backhoe?" Scott says by way of greeting. Jason replies that it isn't there, and he won't have it back for a few days. Scott appears somewhat irritated by Jason's response, prompting him to ask why Scott is suddenly so interested in his backhoe. Scott, in response, makes a tasteless and gruesome joke about needing it to hide the evidence. Jason, nonplussed, stares at him in silence, prompting Scott to continue by pointing to the 2 5-gallon buckets sitting just a few feet away, near Scott's burn pit. He explains that he tried burning everything in the burn pit, but it hadn't worked, so he figures he should just bury it all as fast as possible. Jason listens to this reasoning for the use of his backhoe before growing tired of his weird neighbor's stupid joke, and abruptly telling Scott he needs to go and that he'll talk to him later. 3 hours later at 9:30 p.m., Sheriff's Corporal Brad Roberts is sitting at the front desk of the Coffee County Sheriff's Department when a man approaches, tense and anxious to speak with someone immediately. Corporal Roberts tells him to come back first thing tomorrow morning, but the man is insistent. It's Jason Walker, and he needs the police to listen to the joke his neighbor has just told him, because the longer he's thought about it, the less it started feeling like a joke. At first, the corporal is skeptical as it sounds ridiculous, Violent crime is almost unheard of in tiny Coffee County. But Jason is so adamant, so sure, that the deputy starts getting a sick feeling as well. He radios for 2 more officers, Deputy Rainey and criminal investigator Dendy, to accompany Jason back to his home to check out the story. Upon arriving at Jason's property, investigators made sure to come in through the back, driving without headlights so as not to alert anyone in the Scott household. Jason and the 2 officers walked through the darkness, shining their flashlights through the chain-link fence to illuminate the 2 5-gallon buckets, their bright white plastic almost glowing in the dim light. C.I. Dendy picks up a garden hoe lying in Jason's grass and uses it to reach over the fence and snag the handle of the closest bucket, lifting it over to their side. Grasping the lid, he peels it off to reveal the ghastly contents, causing all 3 men to reel back in horror. It's a woman's severed head and hand. 3 days earlier, on July 6th, CCTV footage at Oak Liquor shows a woman entering the store at around 3:30, striding in confidently and heading to the back of the store before stopping and looking around hesitantly. This is Lisa Marie Hyder, and unbeknownst to everyone in the store, this is her last day alive. She scans the back shelves, curling her long auburn ponytail around her fingers and adjusting her large black sunglasses before walking up to the man who has just passed her in the aisle. She isn't from here. She's only traveled up from where she lives in Dunlap, Tennessee to spend time with her ex-husband and 2 young children, the youngest of which is only a year old. Just before entering the store, Lisa had been on the phone with her ex-husband, trying to get a ride from where she was to the house, but he was unloading a truck in Huntsville and couldn't get to her until he was finished. Lisa was stuck where she was, and she needed a ride, which is why police suspect she approached the man in the liquor store. As for why she chose the liquor store, according to her ex-husband, Lisa had been allegedly struggling recently with alcoholism, which is why they'd split up a few months earlier.
Isn't there another woman
Though
right
she had
there? Why the
struggled
fuck
with a
doesn't she
dependency
just
to
ask
alcohol
her?
Before, a recent devastating piece of news had kicked her problems into overdrive. Lisa had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and had only been given 6 months to live. Lisa was reportedly beyond devastated by the news, drinking to cope and apparently end her life faster, spiraling emotionally and behaving more recklessly than she usually
There's
did.
literally a couple right there. Why the
As she's
fuck?
talking to both the man and the cashier, she adjusts her sunglasses and for a brief moment, a black right eye is visible. How she received this particular injury is still unknown, but it would pale in comparison to the injuries she would receive